Whether you're dreaming of becoming a lead teacher, stepping into your first director role, or leading a thriving childcare program of your own, you don't have to figure it out alone. Welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair, where leadership coach, speaker, co-author, and multi-center owner Erica Saccoccio shares the wisdom she's gained from decades of leading successful early childhood programs and developing future leaders. Each episode is designed to help you use your voice, lead with confidence, build a positive workplace culture, and become the kind of leader your team is excited to follow. Expect real talk, big laughs, bold leadership truth, practical strategies, and the encouragement to believe in yourself every step of the way. Because when Erica teaches leadership, she's teaching what she's lived. The Childcare Director's Chair is proudly sponsored by WatchMeGrow, supporting childcare leaders with innovative technology that helps build stronger programs and stronger family connections. Together, they believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. Pull up your chair, future leader. Here's Erica Saccoccio.
Welcome back to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast, the podcast created for childcare leaders who are carrying more than most people will ever see. I'm your host, Erica Saccoccio, and I'm a childcare owner, leadership coach, educator, and someone who has spent decades working in early childhood education. I've been the teacher in the classroom, the director trying to hold it all together, the owner worrying about payroll, and the coach encouraging other leaders, and the person who sits in the parking lot for 5 extra minutes because I need to gather myself before walking through the door. I find that on the way to work and also when I get home, I find myself sitting in my driveway, waiting about 10 minutes before I come into my house because I don't want to unload my heavy day on my family. So today's episode is the first conversation in our 30-day series focused on real experiences of childcare directors. Over the next 30 days, we're going to talk honestly about leadership, staffing, confidence, burnout, communication, teacher development, family relations, and the emotional weight of leading a childcare program. We're starting with the question that I believe every childcare director needs someone to ask of them. Who's taking care of you? Everyone wants to know who's taking care of their children. Families want to know whether the child is safe, happy, learning, eating, sleeping, being comforted, and your teachers want to know whether someone is going to support them. Their classrooms, when they become overwhelmed, licensing wants to know that every regulation is being followed, and the owners, well, they want to know whether enrollment is strong, tuition is being collected, and the program is operating successfully. Now, let me tell you, I have held every title in my program, including an owner, and I have to tell you, the hardest part is being a director, because you are the middle of everything. You are the hub of information. You are the hub of fixing everything. And honestly, it's really hard. And I want people to understand it. Everyone is looking towards the director for answer. But who is looking at the director and asking, are you okay? Who is checking on the person responsible for everyone else? That's the conversation I want to have today. Being a childcare director is difficult to explain to someone who's never done it. From the outside, people may think your job is to manage teachers and answer parent questions, or maybe complete paperwork to make sure the center runs smoothly. But those of us who have sat in the director's chair know that the job is so much deeper than that. You are managing people. That means personalities, emotions, regulations, schedules, and finance, and enrollment and curriculum and safety and family expectations, staff development, and unexpected situations that can change your entire day in minutes. I'm exhausted just saying it out loud. You may walk into the building with a clear plan for the day, and you're going to complete those observations. You're going to do those one-on-ones. You're going to return those phone calls, maybe meet with the teacher. You're going to review enrollment paperwork and finally finish a report that was due yesterday. And then guess what? The phone rings before you even sit down. A parent wants to speak with you immediately. A child is having a difficult morning. And a teacher, well, she's crying in the break room. Licensing sends an email requesting information. The cook needs help. The classroom's out of ratio. And the phone is ringing again. And someone's at the door. They're here for a tour. Someone else needs a decision. By 10 o'clock in the morning, the plan you created has all but disappeared. You're moving from one situation to the next, trying to keep everyone calm while your own stress continues to build. That's the part people don't see. They see a director standing at the front desk smiling, but they do not see what the director had to manage before that smile. They see the message you send to families, but they do not see the 5 conversations, 3 schedule changes, and 2 difficult decisions that happened before you wrote it. They see that the classrooms are covered, but they do not always see that you gave up your own lunch, postponed your own work, and stepped into a classroom because there was no one else available. You see, childcare directors become experts at making difficult days look manageable. But the problem is that when you become very good at holding everything together, people can forget that holding everything together is heavy. And one of the greatest challenges of childcare leadership is that every person needs something different from you. Your teachers need encouragement. They need clear expectations. They also need your feedback, resources, and support. And families need that communication, reassurance, patience, and answers. And of course, our little kiddos, they need safety and consistency and adults who understand their needs. And the owners and the boards, well, they're worried about money, that financial stability, enrollment, compliance, and honestly, results. And your job is to balance all of those needs, even when they compete with one another. A teacher may need time off, but you may not have coverage. And a family might want an immediate answer, but you might still be gathering information. And a child might need additional support, but the classroom may already be stretched too thin. You may know that a teacher is exhausted, while also knowing that the program cannot function without them on that day. These are not simple decisions. They are leadership decisions involving people, safety, trust, and responsibility. And the director is often expected to remain calm, professional, available, and compassionate through all of it. And you're supposed to understand everyone else's frustration without showing too much of your own. You're expected to give grace while also holding people accountable. And you're expected to be warm but firm, understanding but consistent, flexible but compliant, available but productive. That's a lot for one person to carry. Now, we all know staffing continues to be one of the heaviest responsibilities for childcare directors. When someone calls out, it is not simply a blank space on our schedule. It affects ratios, classroom consistency, teacher morale, because the poor teachers that are there are stressed out because now they've got to carry their classroom and probably some kids not from their classroom. Family confidence, well, that goes out the window. What do you mean my child's teacher isn't here again today? And your entire plan for the day? Well, forget about that. You may find yourself texting employees early in the morning, rearranging breaks, combining responsibilities, stepping into classrooms, or asking people to make adjustments that they are already tired of making. And at the same time, you're trying to retain good teachers that you have. You're listening to their concerns and you're trying to recognize their work. You are creating professional development. You're addressing conflict. You're coaching performance and encouraging people who may be emotionally and physically exhausted. And sometimes you're also dealing with disappointment of seeing someone with great potential walk away from the field. You might understand why they're leaving, but their departure still creates another problem for you to solve. Directors are often told you need to build a strong team. And I agree. We do need to build strong teams. But building strong teams takes time. It takes consistency, coaching, money, patience, and most of all, emotional energy. It is not something a director can create with a motivational quote in a staff appreciation snack. Real team building requires hard conversations. It requires clear expectations, and it requires trust. It requires the director who keeps showing up, even when they're tired of being the person who always has to show up. Most families want the same thing that we want. They want their children to be safe, loved, supported, and prepared for the future. However, even positive family relations can create pressure for directors. Families might be anxious. They may have questions. They may not understand why a policy exists or why a decision has to be made. And sometimes they're responding from fear, frustration, guilt, or concern for their child. As a director, you often become the person who must hold space for those emotions. You listen, you investigate, you explain, you document, you reassure, and you communicate with the teaching team. And then you follow up. And then you try to protect the relationship while also protecting your staff and maintaining the expectations of the program. Does this sound familiar, guys? Even when a family conversation ends well, it may still stay with you for the rest of the day. You may replay your words and wonder whether you handled it correctly. You may worry about whether the family still trusts the program. You may think about what you could have said differently. That emotional processing is part of the work, but it is really listed on the job description for a director. And then there's licensing, that responsibility of compliance. Childcare directors know that every detail matters. A missing signature matters. Classroom ratios matter. A medication form matters. Background checks matter. A gate left open absolutely matters. A teacher forgetting a step in a procedure matters. And when you lead a childcare program, you are not only responsible personally for what you do, you are responsible for creating systems that help everyone else do the right thing every time. That responsibility can follow you home. You may wake up in the middle of the night remembering something that you needed to check. You might think about the email you forgot to send, the form that needs to be updated, or a conversation you need to have with a staff member. Even on your day off, part of your mind may still be at the center. That's what leadership can feel like when the stakes are high and the work involves children. We also need to talk about finances, because childcare leadership is not separate from the business side of childcare. Whether you are a director or an owner-director, you are constantly balancing quality and financial reality. You want to pay your teachers more. You want to purchase new classroom materials, and you want to provide additional planning time, professional development, benefits, and support. But you also have to figure out how to pay the rent or mortgage, insurance, utility costs, food costs, payroll, taxes, maintenance, software fees, and all the other expenses required to operate a safe program. You may look at enrollment numbers and know exactly how many openings you have to fill. You may worry when a family withdraws. You may struggle with increasing tuition because you know your families are already under financial pressure. And you may spend money on something the program needs while silently wondering what expenses will come next. Childcare leaders are expected to provide high-quality care inside a system that is often financially fragile. And this is not a personal failure. It's a larger challenge within our field. However, directors frequently internalize that pressure and believe that they should somehow be able to solve it alone. And teachers' well-being, that also is part of our responsibility. We talk about teacher burnout, and we should. And early childhood educators deserve support, respect, fair compensation, planning time, and emotionally healthy work environments. However, the responsibility for creating that environment often lands on the director. The director becomes the person reminding teachers to take care of themselves while skipping their own lunch. The director tells teachers to use their personal time while answering messages on their own vacation. The director often encourages staff to communicate their needs while quietly carrying the needs that they do not feel safe expressing. There is an important difference between supporting your team and absorbing everything for your team. Many directors have never been taught the difference. They think good leadership means always being available. We believe good leaders solve every problem, and we tell ourselves that our team needs more of us to remain strong, so we push our own emotions aside and keep moving. But leadership cannot mean slowly disappearing under all of that weight of someone else's needs. You can care deeply about your teachers without carrying every emotion for them. And you can support your staff without doing every task for them. And you can be understanding without removing accountability. And you can be a compassionate leader and still have boundaries. And those boundaries do not make you less caring. They allow you to continue caring without completely exhausting yourself. Dear director, I know that you're exhausted, and exhaustion does not always have to look dramatic. Sometimes it just looks like you're sitting in your car before work because you're not ready to walk inside. Sometimes it looks like becoming irritated by questions that you normally would answer with patience. And sometimes it looks like avoiding a conversation because you don't have the emotional capacity to manage another person's reaction or feelings or thoughts. Sometimes it just looks like forgetting simple things like losing your creativity or feeling disconnected from the work that you once loved. Sometimes it looks like going home and having nothing left for your own family. You may still be functioning, you may still be completing your tasks, and you may still be smiling and supporting everyone around you. But inside, you know you are tired in a way that sleep alone is not fixing. That does not mean you're a bad leader. It might mean that you have been leading without enough support for way too long. That is a particular kind of loneliness that can come from being a director. You're surrounded by people all day and still feel like you have no one to talk to. You cannot always share staff concerns with other employees, and you cannot discuss every family issue. You may not want to worry about your own family. You may feel that the owner, the board, your supervisor expects you to have all the answers. So you keep many things to yourself. You make a decision, you communicate the decision, and you carry the emotional consequences of that decision by yourself. That isolation can make every challenge feel heavier. This is why leadership community matters. Directors need spaces where they do not have to explain why a staff call-out can change an entire day. They need people who understand the pressure of licensing visits, family complaints, enrollment changes, employee conflict, and financial uncertainty. They need a place where they can say, today was hard, without someone immediately telling them what they should have done differently. Sometimes you need strategy, sometimes you need accountability, and sometimes you need someone to challenge your thinking. Sometimes you just simply need another leader to say, I understand. You're not alone, you're going to get through it. So take care of directors cannot be limiting to encouraging them to practice self-care. Cannot be limited to that. Self-care matters, but a bubble bath cannot fix a problem, especially if it's a staffing system. A weekend getaway cannot solve unclear expectations, poor communication, or workload designed for 3 people. Directors need real organizational support. They need clear authority to make decisions, and they need adequate staffing and access to be dependable and to have substitutes. They need time to complete administrative responsibilities without consistently being pulled into classroom coverage. And they need professional development that addresses leadership, conflict, finance, communication, and team development. And they need owners and supervisors who ask what support they need before evaluating what they have not completed. They need goals that are challenging but realistic. And most importantly, they need to know they are valued as people, not only as a person who keeps the building running. While we continue to advocate for larger changes in childcare, there are also some steps that directors can take right now. The first is telling the truth about what you are carrying. You cannot address pressure you refuse to acknowledge. Look honestly at your responsibilities. Which tasks truly belong to you? And which tasks can you delegate? And what problems are you repeatedly solving for other people instead of teaching them how to solve it themselves? The second step is creating boundaries around your availability. Not every message requires an immediate response. Not every problem must be solved by you, and not every difficult emotion belongs to you. And the third step is identifying your support system. Who can you speak with honestly? Who understands childcare leadership? And who can provide perspective without judgment? Who will remind you of your strengths while also challenging you to grow? And the fourth step is making room for your own development. You spend so much time developing teachers. You also deserve coaching, mentoring, training, reflection, and opportunities to grow. And the final step is remembering that your well-being is connected to the health of your program. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is part of responsibility. A director who is constantly depleted cannot lead with clarity, patience, creativity, and confidence for very long. So I want you to pause and think about this question. What part of childcare leadership feels the heaviest for you right now? Is it staffing, family expectations, licensing, enrollment, finances, supporting your teachers, or even making difficult decisions? Or is it the feeling that everyone needs something from you, but you're not sure where you're supposed to go when you need something? So name it, write it down, talk about it with someone you trust. That weight does not automatically disappear when you name it, but naming it does help you understand what kind of support you actually need. You don't need another person to tell you to work harder. You may need better systems, and you may need stronger boundaries, and you may need a leadership community. You may need someone to remind you that you are more than the problems that you solve every day. So with this, I'll wrap up our podcast for the day. The state of a child care director is complicated. Directors are passionate. They're capable, resilient, creative, and deeply committed to children and families. They are also tired. They are carrying staffing shortages, changing expectations, financial pressure, compliance, and the list goes on. We cannot continue talking about the quality of childcare without talking about the well-being of the people leading childcare programs. Healthy programs need healthy teachers. Healthy teaching teams need supportive directors, and supportive directors need community. They need resources, boundaries, and spaces where they can be honest about what leadership really feels like. So the next time someone who is taking care of children, I want us to ask another question too. Who's taking care of the leader responsible for everyone else? And if you're a leader, please remember this. You deserve support before you reach your breaking point. You deserve a community that understands what you're carrying. You deserve opportunities to grow, reflect, breathe, and lead without feeling like you have to figure everything out alone. And that's exactly why I created the Trailblazer membership group. So for the next 30 days, I'm inviting you to join our community completely free. Come experience what it feels like to be surrounded by childcare leaders who understand the work, the pressure, and the responsibility of sitting in the director's chair. Inside the Trailblazer community, we talk about real leadership, we work through our challenges, we reflect on our habits, we strengthen our confidence, and support one another as we continue growing into the leaders our programs need. There's no pressure to pretend that everything is perfect. You can come into the community exactly where you are. So visit www.childcaredirectorshare.com, use the code LAUNCH, and receive your first 30 days for free. Come join us. Come see what community is all about. You do not have to lead alone. And before you leave today, I also want you to answer your social question. What part of leadership feels the tightest and heaviest for you right now? I want to know what part of childcare leadership feels the heaviest for you right now. Share your answer with me, or you can send a message to the text the show, but I want to hear about it. Honestly, you may not even realize, but another leader is probably carrying the same weight that you are carrying. So you could also be part of someone's solutions. Thank you for joining me on the Childcare Directors Share podcast. Keep leading, keep growing, and please remember to take care of the person behind the title. See you in the next episode.
Before you go, ask yourself, what's one leadership lesson you'll put into action this week? Then share one takeaway with your leadership team, because Erica believes that great leaders don't just grow themselves, they help others grow too. Ready to keep growing? Join Erica inside the ECE Trailblazers Leadership Membership at childcaredirectorschair.com. Proudly sponsored by WatchMeGrow. Together, we believe leadership isn't a title, it's an action. And we'll save your chair for next time.